Hey, it's Athena at Gluten Freeology, and today I am here to share with you some desserts that are all made from sweet potatoes. So to start out, we have your traditional sweet potato pie, and then I took two other recipes that are already on my website. I've got sweet potato brownies. I made this before in a 4x4 pan, but this time I made it in a loaf pan, but it collapsed. But if I take a little bitty piece here, just want you to be able to see. This is what it looks like. On the inside, it looks like a brownie. You don't see any of the sweet potato pieces because I used the chocolate bark and I put the sweet potatoes through a potato press. If you love brownies, you'll absolutely love this recipe. Gluten-free, of course, no flour. And instead of white granulated sugar, I used honey. And then, of course, we have these donuts. They are also on my website. They're an Italian donut made from ricotta cheese. Castagnole, I'm probably mispronouncing that word, but when you open it up, it's got sweet potato in it that I mixed all together, fried it up, and coated it with powdered sugar. And these are nice and fluffy and absolutely delicious. So I hope you enjoy. First things first is you need to bake your sweet potato for about 40 to 50 minutes at 400 degrees and let it come to room temperature before you start to mix your ingredients for your Italian sweet potato donuts. So I modified this recipe slightly from what the original Italian donuts are on my website because I was adding sweet potatoes to it. So 1 cup of sweet potatoes instead of an entire container of ricotta cheese. I'm only going to do about a half of this, which is about 1 cup. And then I'm keeping the sugar amount the same. I'm still doing the egg. And originally I had lemon, but to me lemon does not go in sweet potatoes, so I added ground cinnamon. And when you mix everything together, you want to sift in your flour and give it a good stir, and then continue to sift until you've got all of the flour in. And don't be like me. Please remember to add the 2 teaspoons of baking powder because you will need that in order for the donuts to have the fluffy texture. I remembered to add the baking powder before I started frying them. So all you want to do is take a teaspoon like so and roll the dough in your hands. And it's gonna be a little bit sticky, but you don't want it overly sticky to the point that your hands are covered in the dough. So it should look like this. Once your donuts are shaped, you're gonna deep fry them in a neutral oil. I'm using canola, and the key is to just make sure you don't overcrowd the pan. They do float to the top, but I like to keep frying them until they're a nice golden brown color like so. And then once you scoop them out, you can immediately toss them in powdered sugar like I did right here, or you can also drizzle them with honey. Either way, they are absolutely delicious. Light, fluffy, sweet potato donuts ready to enjoy. Can I just say that I saw these at Mom's Organic Market. I had never seen them before, but they absolutely did not disappoint. I will absolutely be buying the main company pie crust again, mainly because the first ingredient was butter. So as you know, you start by baking 2 large sweet potatoes for 400 degrees for 50 to 60 minutes. And then, because I want my pie to have a great texture, I am putting it through a potato press, but you could also just use a potato masher. I'm doing 1 cup of condensed milk, 1 egg, and I did half a stick of melted butter that has salt in it. And then here I'm kind of winging it. I did about 1/3 of brown sugar and 1/3 a cup of white granulated sugar, added vanilla extract, ground cinnamon, and put in a little bit of nutmeg, but I went back and added some more brown sugar, so feel free to add more brown sugar if you feel like you need to. Once I added in the other sweet potato, this is what it should look like. And then you just go ahead and pour it into your crust. I did have to pre-bake the crust for 10 minutes at 350 degrees. And then you just, once you get all of your mixed up sweet potato in the pie crust, you just want to smooth it out so that it'll look pretty once it cooks. Once your sweet potato is nice and pretty, you just bake it at 350 degrees for about 30 to 40 minutes, and it should come out looking like this. And sweet potato pie is not too hard to mess up, and this was absolutely delicious. I was able to find some really large sweet potatoes at the grocery store. These are about the size of my hand, and I'm just poking holes in them because I'm gonna bake them. But beforehand, I like to drizzle them with oil, wrap them in foil, and bake them at 400 degrees for about 50 to 60 minutes. And of course, once the sweet potatoes cool off, that's when you can start mixing together the ingredients for your brownies. This is also on my website. And so you just cut up the chocolate bark, about 1 cup, then you add in your peanut butter, and I'm also gonna add half a stick of butter, and I'm using raw honey instead of sugar. I just melt that in the microwave and give it a good stir until it looks like this. And then I'm just gonna set it aside. And now I'm going to use a press for my sweet potatoes. Once the sweet potatoes cool off, you can just easily peel the skin off by hand. You don't even need a peeler. And I'm putting them through the potato press so that my brownies can be nice and smooth and creamy. And then I'm adding the rest of the wet ingredients, which are 2 eggs. And then I'm gonna come in with my melted chocolate, peanut butter, salted butter, and honey mixture and give that a good stir. Then last, I throw in the cocoa powder with the baking powder and stir that up until everything is nice, smooth, and creamy like this. For this recipe, I did try to do something different. I went ahead and put it in a loaf pan, but this is around the time you want to grease a 4x4 pan and pour in your brownie batter and bake it at 350 degrees for 30 minutes. And if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I've given you 3 absolutely delicious desserts that you can make with sweet potatoes, and I hope you enjoy.